Hello, viewers. Compliment of the season, and welcome to Lawyers Alert's weekly live series. We are streaming live on Facebook. Our deliberation this week revolves around your rights, my rights, and the rights of all other persons. The topic we will discuss this week is the universality of human rights and female sex work, the FCT Abuja High Court judgment. The universality of human rights and female sex workers, the FCT Abuja High Court judgment. Now, human rights are those benefits that you enjoy by virtue of your humanity. Human rights are not the exclusive preserve of persons of a particular race. They are not the exclusive preserve of persons of a particular color. They are not the exclusive preserve of any category of or groups of persons. They are meant for all by virtue of the fact that we are human beings. Now, human rights are rights that every human being enjoys. Human rights are basic. They are basic, they are God-given, they are inalienable. No persons can take that right from you. Your rights can be violated, but these rights are sacrosanct. And when these rights are violated, you have every right to seek redress at the court of law. Now, you also have that some of these rights borders on every aspect of your life. For instance, you have a right to be alive, and no person is permitted to take your life. You have a right to dignity of your human person, and no person is permitted to deprive you of this right. You have a right to your personal liberty, and no person can deprive you of this right. You have a right to be heard, and no person is permitted to prevent you from being heard. You equally have a right to private and family life, and no one is permitted to intrude into your privacy, into your home, without your consent. You also have a right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, and no one is permitted to compel you to belong to any religion, to any way, any form of any way of worship without your consent. You also have a right to freedom of expression. You are free to express your opinion. You are free to express your view on virtually all issues, and no one is permitted to deprive you of this right. Now, you also have a right to assemble and to associate with people, with groups, with associations, and this right is sacrosanct. You also have a right to move from place to place. That's real right to freedom of movement. And no one is permitted to restrict your movement. You also have a right to freedom from discrimination, and no one is permitted to deprive you of this right. You have a right to acquire and own movable and immovable properties, and no one is permitted to deprive you of these rights. All these rights are recognized and adopted by the United Nations in its Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. These rights are also recognized and entrenched in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And at the home front, we have the Nigerian Constitution, Chapter 4 of which contains all the fundamental human rights we are talking about. Now, we talk about the rights of female sex workers. The rights of female sex workers. In the history of human rights in Nigeria, certain categories of persons are the ones whose rights are violated most times. Now, this category of persons include the female sex workers, the sexual minorities, persons with disabilities, the indigent, and the common people, the hoi polloi. Now, this set of people, we refer to them as the vulnerable persons. They are vulnerable because their rights are easily and constantly violated, and they are helpless and cannot defend themselves. These are the set of people that Lawyers Alert is out to protect. At all material times, Lawyers Alert seeks to be the voice of the voiceless, the angel of mercy, and the lawyer to the downtrodden. So female sex workers are part of the downtrodden in the society. Lawyers Alert is always out to protect the rights of female sex workers, because female sex workers are entitled to enjoy every right that other citizens enjoy. But like as I said, in Nigeria, the rights of female sex workers are always violated with impunity, and because they are helpless, because they are vulnerable, they cannot defend themselves and they cannot enforce their right on their own. So, most times their rights are violated by non-state actors and by state actors. Now, this is in spite of the fact that female sex work, or call it prostitution, is not a criminal offense in Nigeria. Yes, there's no law in Nigeria that prohibits or criminalize female sex work or prostitution. In spite of this, their rights are still violated by law enforcement agents. Their rights are still violated by other citizens. Now, it is against this background that Lawyers Alert is always on ground to defend their right and to protect their right. Now, the fact is that if an act is not a crime, it then follows that no one can be punished for such an act. Because for an act to be a crime, for a person to be punished, it means he might have committed a criminal offense. But where a person does not commit any offense, he is not entitled to be punished. So, like I said, female sex work is not an offense under Nigerian law. To this end, Lawyers Alert has, on certain occasions, proceeded to court to enforce the rights of female sex workers. Now, the case that Lawyers Alert has prosecuted so far boils down on the rights of female sex workers. And how it happened is that this case is titled Constance and 15 others versus the Minister of Federal Capital Territory and 5 others. The 5 others are Abuja Environmental Protection Board, the Inspector General of Police, the Inspector General of Police, the Nigerian Police Force, and the Nigerian Army. This group of persons formed what we call the Ministerial Task Force that go around the city of Abuja to carry out their work. But most time, when they carry out their work, they take the laws into their hands. For instance, on February 22, 2017, the Ministerial Task Force, on the instruction of the Federal Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, invaded Mabuchi area of Abuja. At around 11 p.m. in the night, they broke into the doors, into the homes of 33 female sex workers, broke into their door, they stole their money, the sum of 14,400 naira. They maltreated them, they inflicted violence on them, they arrested them, and they later dumped them at Old Parade Ground, Area 10, Abuja. This matter was reported to us by Heartland Alliance International, a partner organization that we work with. So when the matter was reported to Lawyers Alert proceeded to Old Parade Ground, Area 10, to secure their bail and to later file a suit at the Federal High Court to enforce their rights. The suit was filed in June 2017 and the judgment was delivered in December 2019. Now, the judgment was delivered in December 2019. Now, the judgment, among the decision of the judge, are as follows. One, that the fundamental right, the judge held in the judgment given by the judge, the Federal High Court judge, the judge said that the fundamental rights of all Nigerians is sacrosanct, and the gamut of our ground norm and other related international and domestic legislation seek always to protect and enforce such right. Number two, the judge also held that by Section 37 of the Constitution of Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the citizens' homes, their privacy, the citizen privacy, their homes, their correspondence, and their telephones, conversations, and their telegraphic communication are protected by the Constitution. Number three, the judge also held that the action of the respondent, that is, the action of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, the action of the Inspector General of Police, the action of the Nigerian Police Force, the action of the Abuja Environmental Protection Board, the action of the Nigerian Army, which all comprises the Ministerial Task Force, in breaking into the homes of the 33 female sex workers, amount to an infringement of their right to privacy. Number four, the judge also held that the law has laid down the procedure by which the law enforcement agents should carry out their arrest, their process of arrest. The judge also said that the breaking in and the arrest of the 33 female sex workers amount to infringement of their fundamental right. Then finally, the judge directed the respondent, that is the Minister of FCT, the Abuja Environmental Protection Board, the Inspector General of Police, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Police Force. The judge directed them to pay the sum of 1.6 million naira to the 16 applicants that we went to court on their behalf. That is to say that 1.6 million naira shared among them is 100,000 naira each. And then Finally, the lessons, there are several lessons we need to learn from this judgment of the Federal High Court, which judgment was in favor of the female sex workers. The first lesson we need to learn is that every Nigerian, whether you are a female sex worker, you are a gay, you are a man, a member of the sexual minorities, whatever your orientation, your sexual, both sexual orientation or any orientation, whether female sex workers, your rights are, you are entitled to enjoy every right that every citizen enjoy. The second lesson is that every Nigerian, whether you are a female sex worker, you are entitled to your right to privacy. No person, not even law enforcement agents, have any right to break into your house, to maltreat you, to steal your money, to arrest you, and to maltreat you. No person has every right to break into your house without your consent. Then the third lesson is that law enforcement agency should follow the law. They should follow due process. They don't have any right to break into homes of every person, any person at all. They have no right to break into the homes of every person. Then the fourth lesson is that if your rights are violated, whether you are a female sex worker or regardless of any of your orientation, if your rights are violated, you have every right to seek redress. You can approach the court to enforce your right. You can seek the help of human rights organizations like Lawyers Alert. Meet with them, table your complaint to them. They will take up your rights and protect you and seek redress on your behalf. Then another lesson to learn is that if your rights are violated, whether you are a female sex worker, you can report the violation. If you don't report the violation, you will not be able to get help. You will not be able to obtain help for people. Now, if these female sex workers did not report to Lawyers Alert, Lawyers Alert will not have taken up their matter. So it is very, very important that you should report violations each time your rights are violated. So this is all we have for you this week. And before I round off, I wish to state that human rights, your fundamental human rights are sacrosanct. And the law is out to protect your rights. You must seek at all times to ensure that your rights are protected. If your rights are violated, you don't need to keep silence. You can seek for help. You can ask for help. You can contact Lawyers Alert. You can report to government agencies. You can report to the Nigerian police. But if it's Nigerian police that violated your right, you can come directly, you can report to any other human rights organization like Lawyers Alert, and we will take up your matter immediately. Thank you so much for your audience, and until we come your way next week, have a nice day. Thank you.